In this section, we will attempt to find the value or the price of a bond. The value of any financial asset is equal to the present value of that asset's remaining future benefits. So regardless if we were talking about a share of stock or a parcel of real estate or a bond, we use the same concept. So with a bond, the investor will receive a series of coupon payments until maturity. At maturity, the investor will receive not only that last coupon payment, but also the return of the par value. So we will take all those benefits and discount them to the present to find the value or the price of the bond. But before we get into actually working a problem, there's a couple of things that we have to set the foundation with. I would like you to watch in the video reviews the difference between bonds that sell at a premium and bonds that sell at a discount. Moving on from there, we have 3 bond pricing rules that I would like you to commit to memory. A bond will always sell at its par value if its coupon rate is equal to its yield to maturity. On the other hand, a bond is going to sell at a premium. That means at a price greater than its par value if its coupon rate is greater than its yield to maturity. And finally, a bond will sell at a discount. That's a price that's less than its par value if its coupon rate is less than its yield to maturity. Let's look at some examples of that. So here we have a bond, a 10-year bond. It has a 10% annual coupon and its yield to maturity is 10%. So that tells me that due to its 10% annual coupon, its coupon payment is $100 every year for the next 10 years. That's an annuity. In year 10, not only does the investor receive that final payment of its coupon, but also the return of its par value. So we need to find the value or the current price of this bond using its benefits, the coupon payments, and the return of the par value. We will discount or find the present value of these benefits using the yield to maturity, R sub D, of 10%. We really don't need to do any work here if we know our bond pricing rules. In this case, it has a 10% coupon and a 10% yield to maturity. This bond should sell at par, in other words, at $1,000. But if we want to prove that, we can use our calculator. When we use our calculator to find the price or the present value of a bond, we will let N on our calculators be equal to the time remaining until maturity. Our I divided by Y button is the yield to maturity. Our future value button is the par value of the bond. The payment key is our coupon payment, which, if you recall, we take the coupon rate, multiply times par value. And then we solve for the present value. So in this case, for this bond with a 10% coupon, 10 years to maturity, and a 10% yield to maturity. N is 10. I divided by R is 10. The payment is 100. The future value is 1,000. Once we calculate or compute the present value, our calculator should tell us that the price of this bond is $1,000. That's a good example. Here we have what's the value of a 10-year bond outstanding with the same risk. In other words, the yield to maturity is still 10%, but this bond has a 13% coupon rate, annual coupon rate. So the payment here, the only thing that changes is the payment in this scenario. The coupon payment will be $130 every year for 10 years. At the end of year 10, not only do we receive the $130 if we invest in this bond, but we also receive the par value, the return of the par value. By knowing our bond pricing rules, we know in advance that this will be a premium bond. Why do I know that? Because the coupon rate is greater than the yield to maturity. What's the rationale here? Well, this bond is paying its investors 13%. The yield to maturity, the rate that we discount these benefits, is only 10%. So that means that all other bonds that have the same amount of risk as this bond, they're paying their investors 10%. The bond at hand pays 13%. Wow, that's an extra 3 points of coupon payments, extra 3 points of interest. Of course, something that offers these extra benefits has got to pay or has got to sell at a premium price, a price above par. And in this case, our hunch was correct. The answer is $1,184.34. What about 10-year bond? Yield to maturity is still 10%, but the coupon on this bond is 7%. Our bond payment rules tell us that this has got to be a discount bond. The coupon payments are only going to be $70 a year for 10 years with the return of the par value at the end of year 10. Why is it selling at a discount? The rationale here is that all other bonds with the same amount of risk are paying 10%. This bond only pays 7%. Well, who would want this bond? Everybody else with the same burden of risk receiving 10%. We're only getting 7%. The only way to make this bond attractive to investors with its lowly 7% is if we sell it at a discount. And sure enough, the price is below par value at $815.66. Here's an interesting observation. Bond values change over time. But as each year ticks off the clock, those prices get closer and closer to par value, regardless if a bond starts off at being sold at par or at premium or at a discount. If we hold the yield to maturity constant, then the price gets closer and closer to par value. So at maturity, the value of any bond must equal its par value. So if the yield to maturity remains constant, The value of a premium bond decreases over time until it hits 1,000. The value of a discount bond, as it gets closer and closer to maturity, its value increases until it hits $1,000. And the value of a par value bond would just stay at $1,000. But the key here is the yield to maturity, if it remains constant. Now, here are 3 examples that I would like you to watch that give you some practice in finding the value of an annual coupon bond. Problem 7.1, 7.5, 7.6. You'll be able to see those problems from our textbook. You'll be able to see a walkthrough if you watch these 3 short clips.